Going through life's changes are inevitable, but who we become through them is up to us. Being a mother is full of changes, full of ups and downs and new experiences. From your first pregnancy to cuddles, park days to first days of school to full calendars, and then one day they're walking out the door. Then the next, your babies are having babies of their own. All of these experiences change us. I believe we get stronger through them. I thought it was only fitting to have my first guest, someone who's been through these changes and someone who I have looked up to for many years, is my mom, Blyn. Blyn and Victor, my parents, have been on a roller coaster ride of marriage for 29 years. They have 6 energetic children and 2 grandbabies. Her name has often been referred to as someone's mom and has devoted her life to serve her children and any others who come into her path. Blyn has now found herself in a new phase of life, being an empty nester, a grandma, and working full time. I am so excited to have her on today to share some of her stories through her wonderful motherhood journey. Thank you for being here. I am so excited to have my mom here today. And
Hello.
I'm just so excited because my mom is someone I've looked up to my whole life, and I think she's a pretty phenomenal woman. And I'm just excited that I get to share her story a little bit.
I'm blushing. And
Good.
yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
I'm excited. And I just think that you have so many amazing stories, and you have gone through so many phases where you are going to be able to be such a light and help us navigate motherhood.
I hope so. Do my best.
It'll be great. I wanted to start off with just asking if you can think back to a favorite memory or a story that you have as a mom. And are there any moments that maybe stand out to you when you think back of your motherhood journey so far?
I think one of the things that is my most favorite memory isn't just one thing, 6 things, and that would be the birth of each of my children. And that moment in the hospital after you've done all your hard work and you're cleaned up and the baby gets cleaned up and they bring that baby to you all wrapped up in a bundle. There's just kind of a peace, and I don't know, you're meeting this human that you just grew inside you, and it's pretty amazing. So those are some of my most favorite memories, as well as, again, together with the 6 children and dad, just spending time together, going on hikes and acting silly in the forest where no one can see us, doing our parkour off of rocks and trees and hills, and going to places where we can be together yet everybody has space to be their own creative self and find a way to express themselves.
I love that. Those are some of my favorite memories too. And it's fun to just relive them. And when you see pictures or anything, I think that's where the love I have for nature originally came from, because we were always so happy outside, and it just is really fond memories. And I think back to just really happy times, and it's really nice. And I love that you shared that memory about when each of your kids were born, because that is a moment where you can really just exhale and take the craziness
Hmm.
in and just enjoy that peaceful moment.
Yeah, you think the hard work is done, but the years continue to come and new challenges come. But I don't know, it's just a precious moment.
For sure. And a good thing to remember is to find those peaceful moments and take them in and enjoy them, because, yeah, they don't last forever and they come and
Hmm.
go really fast.
They do. And I remember people telling me, oh, enjoy them while they're young. They grow up so fast. And at the time, with six little ones, I'm just like, no, I'm over it. Let's get them bigger. But now I'm one of those people that would tell somebody, enjoy every moment with those little ones because now my babies are having babies. It goes by so fast.
They're so cute and cuddly right now. It's so hard not to.
They are. The
So
babies are
fun.
too.
Now, thinking about your own kids having kids, does it ever make you reflect on how times have changed and just your experiences to having kids versus now your own kids having kids?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was pregnant with you, the only tool I really had, besides maybe some women I could talk to, was the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. That was my pregnancy Bible. And, as I went through each month, I would read about what's going to happen to me and, just go with it. We've talked before, some people are worriers and they'll look stuff up online and start worrying about this and that when it's not necessarily something they need to worry about. Most of the time, probably not. Um, I just think that there's so many places with the internet that you can go now to find information, and that information isn't always correct, is the other thing. But yeah, when I got pregnant, I was 21, and we were just, here we go, jump in and go with the flow.
I love that book too, What to Expect When You're Expecting. Because I found myself, honestly, like you said, it is an information overload. And with social media, as soon as your
Mm-hmm.
feed finds out that you're pregnant or
Right,
whatever,
right.
it sends you so much information. And I remember at times being like, okay, I'm just going to close the app and just read this book because that was soothing. And it was nice to be like, okay, this is just the exact information I need. And I don't want to take away from like, there are good things that
Yes.
are on social media and that you can find out, but sometimes it is a lot to take in and it is like anxiety inducing.
Well, and I think too, a thought just came to mind that you also compare yourself with other people who are going through pregnancy at the same time as you. And Grandpa used to tell me, when I was having a hard time with a baby, like, oh, didn't you get the manual that came with that model kind of thing? And it's the same with pregnancy. There's no manual. We have to go through the similar process, but the way we get from A to B is going to be different for everybody. So you can't always go by what you read or hear on social media, internet, those kinds of things.
I love that you say that because I think that goes along with so many parts of motherhood is just the not comparing part. And that's
Hmm.
something that I'm honestly still working on and I'm sure I'll continue to. And because you do it subconsciously, you're like, oh, their kid is doing this or I'm doing this. And you just have to take a step back and be like, all right, we're all healthy or we have this scenario
Yeah,
going on
absolutely. Yep.
and we're just getting through it together and this is how it's going to be. But
Yep.
I love that you say that.
Everybody's challenge is different. So you may look like things are flying and going real well and but maybe there is something not going well that you keep to yourself or, you don't want to share yet. And then there'll be somebody looking at you going, "Oh, she's doing awesome. Like she's had no problems." Um and you can't do that because you don't really know.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's just something that I think all of us moms probably work on is just finding the peace and the joy in the phase and the moment that you're in. Sort of like we said earlier, just finding those moments and being happy where you're at.
Yeah, and doing what's right for you because that's what you want.
Yes.
Not
Yep.
because your friend wants you to, not because the doctor necessarily wants you to, but things that make you feel at peace.
Yeah. I 100% agree. So thinking of that, when you were in the thick of motherhood and you had your 6 little babies and all that fun stuff. When you were in the thick of motherhood, what were some things that you did to make your days interesting, not only for your kids, but maybe for yourself too?
Well, I think that the what you have to do when you have young children is have something to keep them occupied and entertained. Um, that's not you, because you're going to burn out a little bit. And also, you need to have a social outlet that's not, you know, Blue's Clues, or I guess these days it's Bluey, or whatever the children's shows are these days. Um, so I think what we would do is maybe go outside. We'd meet friends at a park. That way, the children could play while the adults had time to converse with each other. Because I think when you keep yourself away from other people, that's not good for your children and also for yourself. They talk about socializing your children, but we sometimes forget about ourselves, that when all we do is have conversations with a 5-year old all day long, we miss out on having those adult conversations and just being able to discuss different topics with someone in the same situation that you are.
Thank you for sharing that because I've always known I am a social person and I really enjoy having friends and getting together with friends, but I didn't realize how much of a necessity it was until having it, because now I'm like, okay, I need to have a park play date, not only so he can play with other people and kids, but so I can have some like adult interaction and be able to just talk with friends and enjoy that time together and just be able to confide in each other while going through this journey together.
Yeah. Well, and you maybe have a spouse or a partner who works strange hours where you can't, you know, get out and do things with them. So maybe, yeah, meeting at the park, at the pool, go for a hike, all those kinds of things give you an opportunity to, one, get out of your house, two, give your children experiences, and then three, for yourself, just to get out.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, it's so great for everyone involved. And I feel like I'm always so much happier when I do it
Yeah,
too.
sometimes you just feel like, ugh, I don't want to go. But then you go and you realize that, even just the act of getting out and going, that exercise, is
Mhm.
helpful for your own mental health.
I love that you shared about getting out and socializing with other moms because that is such an important part and just confiding in them. And I know that you have shared with me some of your experiences as a young mom and you have shared your experiences with postpartum depression. And it's been interesting as an adult because I didn't know about this while I was a child, or honestly, I think I didn't know while I was living at home. And now I've learned in more recent years what your real struggles were. And I was wondering if you'd be able to just elaborate on your experience with postpartum and maybe when you realized that something wasn't quite right with how you're feeling.
Yeah, so your dad and I got pregnant with you when we were 21. And at 22, we had you. And then that was in 1996. And then in 1998, we had our first son. Um, and then in 1999, we had our second son. So there was a 3-year gap between number one and number three. So for anybody having kids, and anybody who has had children that close together, knows that it is a lot. Um, but there was a point where it was more than just, I have 3 young kids. And I wasn't feeling quite myself, I guess. So I went and talked to my doctor, and we she ended up putting me on some medication. And at the time, I can't tell you that I really understood what was going on. We never talked about postpartum from my recollection. I never talked about it with my mother or friends. Even driving in the car today with my girlfriend, we were talking about it and she says, "Well, what did you even say or who talked to you about medication?" And I said, "I don't remember anything about postpartum when we were having kids." She's like, "Exactly. There was no information." And I mean, I think we're still learning more and more information today. Anyways, so I ended up going on some medication, and that helped me get back on my feet or back to feeling like I could handle things.
And it is so crazy that when you were having kids that it wasn't talked about. And I am grateful for your generation because I feel like you're the ones that have helped shift it to where we are able to talk about it. Because I think of you and you were young at that time. You had 3 kids. You were what, 27 at that point or 25?
20, 25?
25. And I wouldn't know where to start with that. And I would trust whoever I'm going to or talking about. But you've shared with me that what they put you on for that medication wasn't one that you would necessarily want to go back on and one that had um the best side effects. And I feel like that really affected how you were for the next couple years.
Yeah, I think we didn't have any information. I think now when you get your prescription, you get a printout of what all the things are that could happen on this medication. And I looked it up not that long ago that the medication I was on had a lot of side effects that didn't seem very beneficial, but I wasn't aware of them at the time. And I guess you have to weigh your options. Are the side effects or the possible side effects worth it in order to get to a place where you feel good? And um, so then, yeah, I was off of that medication. And then we had our next 3 children were in 2001, 2004, and 2005. And that 3 again, maybe I ended up going back to the doctor and back on that medication again. And again, I don't remember having a conversation about postpartum depression. I did not know what that was. I think my my mom's generation, they didn't talk about anything. So we are growing out of that, I hope. I know with my girls, they're not shy to talk about anything that happens with their
Sorry.
bodies, no matter
Sorry about that. I know dad's been like,
who's in the room.
I know that
Their father and their brothers have been very educated by the 4 girls.
I just remember a time where I don't know if this is going to be TMI, so we'll see if it makes the cut. But I just remember this one time where I went to the bathroom and I think I went in like the middle of the night or I was super tired. And I think I went to bed with a tampon in. And I remember I took the tampon out and I think I just was in the toilet and I seriously don't remember much. I think I was sleepwalking. I
I
went to
think I know where
bed
you're going.
and Dad, Kieran, and Kobe had to go do something early Saturday morning. And I remember I got out of bed. They were back at this point, and they were like, "Kaylee, we need to talk to you about something." And I was like, "What?" It is like 9 a.m. on a Saturday. What have I already done? And they're like, "We found something in the toilet and we just feel like that wasn't really acceptable." And I was like, "Wait, what?"
Unacceptable.
And I remember you came down the stairs and you're like, "Hold up." And then you just ripped them a new one. And I was like, "Nice. Thanks,
Probably
Mom."
not quite how she said it, but I think I remember that because I'm like, dudes, you try having a period. Like, it's not a fun thing. And sorry, I didn't flush the toilet.
I just remember being like, "You have got to be kidding me. Like, I'm already on my
Yeah,
period. I don't want to have to deal with you
yeah.
guys who have no idea what I'm going through." So I am grateful that, like, times are shifting, and like you created an atmosphere and a home where us girls could come talk to you.
Ah,
I'm not afraid to like ask you, and I'm sure I ask you way too many TMI questions. I'm really grateful because I feel like what you've shared with me of how you were raised and how our grandparents were raised, like they didn't
yeah.
talk about these things, but there's a reason they do need to be talked about because we can support each other in that.
Well, and it's educated your brothers too. Like it's not a surprise when they get married that this is what happens to girls.
Well,
Anyways,
and I feel like just your experience with postpartum, because you educated us later and we can get into that more later, but
yeah,
they are also aware of things that can happen and
yeah,
just all the hormones that go on with having a period, when you have a baby, when you're pregnant, like all the
yeah.
changes, and obviously
Our
there's so many ins
bodies,
and out.
yeah, our bodies have to change so much, and you know, more and more recently, I guess, as you and Kieran, his wife, are having babies, like just thinking about what the body has to do, what our bodies have to do. And
Mm.
every month we have to do something and it's not fun. So if you find something in the toilet, sucks to suck. Anyways, back to the story. Um, so I ended up on the medication again. And at, and then when our youngest was 18 months, we decided we were moving our family from Alberta back to British Columbia. And it never even crossed my mind. I should talk to my doctor about what I should do when I get there and how should I handle this medication thing. And so I just quit it cold turkey. And that was not a good thing to do because your body has to go through adjustments. And I, for probably a good week, felt like I was in another world, like just no clarity, I guess I would be a good way to describe it. Anyway, so I was doing okay once we moved, and although it was a shocking change from where we came from, just in the sense of what was available, um, I was doing okay. Now we're going to fast forward, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 years after we moved, that I was back feeling the same things where I just wasn't finding the joy. I wasn't happy. Things were a struggle. So I went and talked to my doctor. And this time, I guess it's not really postpartum because I don't know, maybe it was. My baby's 18 months. That could probably still count. I don't know how long it's supposed to last. Anyways, we never had this conversation. And and the doctor ended up prescribing me some more antidepressant medication.
At this point, you also had a better conversation, right? With your doctor versus the first time you had that conversation? Or was it like kind of same quality?
Honestly, I feel like it was kind of the same quality because even as I'm learning now, doctors are not necessarily educated specifically on women's health. And so it was oh, you're depressed, let's try this kind of a thing. And so I went back on that, and again, I was doing well. And so after a couple of years, went off of it. And then it was 2017 where I really took a dive and was not doing well. And so at that point, I went back to my doctor, and he ended up referring me to a psychiatrist, which I was starting to see more or understand more. Okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy has been trained in this area. Um, and so I worked with that doctor, probably took a year and a half to get medications. So I ended up on two for depression and anxiety. And at that point, we had what was working well. Since then, things have been changed. Just, your body changes as you age. And so I've had to try different kinds of medications. But to this day, I am still taking the medication. I have learned that it is just something that I need because there's some connections in my brain that weren't working the way I needed them to work. Um, I never really talked about this with anybody. Dad was probably the only one who knew that I was on medication. I don't even think that I had talked to my mom. Oh,
Oh, it's so interesting to me as well because I didn't know at all growing up. And this was something you struggled with or something that you lived with from
mm-hmm.
when I was 3 or 4 years old. And I remember when you had first told me, I think I was in college. So I was probably
Yeah,
19 or 20. And one I remember being like, "Whoa, you've struggled or you've gone
dealt
through
with it.
this
Yeah,
my whole life and I didn't know." And I think
yeah,
one first that shows off how strong you are as a mom because you still sacrificed yourself day in and day out for us kids.
yeah.
And it also
I
makes me sad because you couldn't necessarily find the help that you needed sooner. And that's where I'm also grateful for you again because I think experiences like yours where you've gone through this and you've found yourself in this is helping pave the path for us new moms to be able to get the help that we need more efficiently or we're just able to talk
yeah,
about it, which I think is a
yeah.
huge help.
Well, and it might just be you need it for that short time to get through those couple months where your body is getting back to, not your old self, your new self, and the hormone balances and all that kind of stuff. So it's not necessarily something that you have to be or yeah on for the rest of your life. But I realized it was something that I needed, and so it was actually your dad that really wanted me to tell the kids what was going on. And the reason that I never shared that with my children is because I it's hard enough being a kid sometimes and I didn't want my struggles or my shortcomings to be their problem. And so I in my eyes I was saving you guys from that extra burden. And so yeah, I think you guys were surprised when that happened when we finally shared it with you. And I think it's part of this process of us becoming more aware of ourselves and taking care of ourselves and self reflection. And the mental health piece is a huge piece. And I wish that I had had that person that I felt comfortable talking to about it. I didn't even talk to my friends about it for the longest time. I still probably haven't talked to many friends about it um, because in my mind it was kind of a negative thing. But I've come to the knowledge that this is me and I need it. And it's helping me to, manage myself through these times. And these days are not any easier than the other days that I went through. And I'm still in this figuring out me stage of life with no kids at home. But yeah, it's still something that I live with. And yeah, I don't like calling it a struggle because it shouldn't really be that.
I remember at the time thinking, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe she's done all this for me and all the days where I probably wasn't the best teenager at home or."
Yeah, you were awful. Not at all.
But I just think, wow, she did this through my whole life and I didn't know. But I do want to say, I think I'm aware enough, one of myself, that I don't think I would have been much help. I think I would have definitely been way more anxious and probably caused you more anxiety.
Yes, yes.
And
And see,
I
I know
think,
my children's personalities.
and because I remember when you first told me, you're like, sometimes I just don't have the motivation to do it. And in my mind, I was like, I'm going to send her quotes every day and I'm going to ask her,
Yeah.
like, every day, are you doing this? Or how are you feeling? And looking back, I'm like, oh my goodness, that was probably kind of suffocating. Like, that probably
Well, that you
wasn't
did that.
helping.
Well, you're
But
kind of in that teenager phase where, like, I don't want anyone to talk to me. I don't want anyone trying to help me because I already know what I have to do. I just need to do it. And that's
yeah,
part of the frustration too, is that when you know and you just don't know how to help yourself, and then other people want to help you and you don't even know what to tell them.
exactly. And
So,
then, well, and
yeah,
I just think along with that, you have paved the way for me and maybe some of my other siblings that we're aware of things that could happen with just life in general. And you know what? At times, it's not going to be pretty or it's not going to be this like perfect scenario, but we can then have a conversation about where to go from there. And I know you are a safe place for me to talk about really anything, as I've said before, but
yeah,
especially with mental health, I trust that you can help me get advice, or if I need to go, if I am feeling not quite right, like that you can say, okay, maybe
hmm,
you should go talk to someone, or
yeah,
maybe this is what's happening. But you are one that gives really great advice on what your next step should be, especially when it might be uncharted territory for something I'm going through.
right. Well, I appreciate that because sometimes I think, oh man, I'm a mother. I have to like raise these people. But I think too that we are all going to have hard times. And whether you have a mental health issue or whatever, you're going to have a hard time. And so defining that point where this is a hard time, I can get through it, and this is a hard time, and I'm just super sad. And I can't seem to get over that hump of, I know it's going to be okay. Even though it's hard, I know I'm going to have this trial. Even though I know it's hard, I know I'm going to get through. So I think that's where looking for help is important.
Well, I'm really grateful for the things that you've shared with me and just all your experiences with this because it makes it easier and just makes it seem more relatable when you're going through it. But I know you've shared some things with me about when you were talking with your counselor about trying to get back to the person that you were. And I was wondering if you'd be able to share some of those experiences because I think that helped you grow a lot and change your mindset on your whole journey in general.
Right. So I ended up actually through our church going to or getting referred to a counselor. And so um, I, rem- I remember thinking, and I actually still think it, this is how hard it is to, you know, make your brain shut off. But I miss me. I miss my old me. I'm not the same me that I was, you know, when you guys were younger or even as teenagers. I don't feel like I have that drive. And so, one thing that the counselor said to me is that she just said straight up, well, you're not going to be your old you because you're today's you and you're in a new time in your life. Like now that all the kids are gone, I don't know at the time if you guys were all gone, but almost. And you need to find out who you are now. And you need to um, find out what you're interested in, what you would like to do in your spare time, the things that make you happy. And honestly, I am still working on that. It's really hard. But for me to hear that, you know, I'm not going to be the 25-year-old me. I'm a 50-year-old me now, and my body can't do the things my 25-year-old body could do. And it's okay. And so that was kind of an epiphany for me that, oh yeah, like I have to look at all the pieces. I grew 6 babies. I grew 6 human beings. And yeah, I maybe now I'm playing some catch up with just trying to figure out who I am again cuz really my whole life was taking care of my kids cuz that was what was most important to me. Unfortunately, forgetting that I needed to take care of myself at the same time. And I know that there's a bigger stress in the world today on taking time for yourself. And if you don't take care of yourself, how are you supposed to take care of anybody else?
Thank you for sharing that because that is something that's helped me because I remember when you first told me that, when your counselor had said, "Well, you're not going to be the same person that you are." I thought about that and I was like, "Well, I'm definitely not the same person and I definitely have hard times with thinking, "Oh, I'm going to get back to who I was at 20 and that was only 8
Yeah.
years ago." But I'm not like going to be that person. And it's so true because now I have someone else that I'm worried about or that I'm caring for, and changing our mindset to like, it's great that we're not the same person. I'm not going to be, I don't want to be
Yeah.
who I was when I was 16. So why would I want to be who
Yeah.
I was at 20? Like, it's changing that mindset to keep looking forward and be positive with what we have and just keep going because, yeah, we're not going to be that same person. We're
Yeah.
going to be
And I
hopefully a
can
better version of ourselves.
yeah. I can see how that is challenging for you because you were high level Division 1 college athlete and that was your life, right? And so you have had the moments where my body is not what I want it to be. And you can't compare yourself now to what you did when you were 20, 21, because you were working so hard and we're in a whole nother zone. And that is the hard part in our life is seeing that we are not going to stay the same. We are not a stagnant character in our story. We are going to change. And those changes are not always easy. And yeah, I'm not wearing my skinny pants right now. And yeah, I'd love to be back there. But then I have to think I it's not a huge priority for me to be skinny like I was back then. Unfortunately, that's not my priority. But I don't need to be skinny like I was back then in order to be happy and enjoy myself.
And that's so relatable. Like, even though we all come from so many different backgrounds and who we were before kids comes from,
Yeah.
so there's so many different ranges of who we were before we
Yeah.
had kids. But I think the common denominator is that when you have your child, things change and you become a
Yeah.
mom, and your life is different, and that's so beautiful. And I wouldn't go back to who I
Yeah.
was then. Like, I love who I am now and it is changing
Yeah.
that. And I definitely, the body issues or the body complex, like, I think it's normal, and I think it's something every woman, like, I talk to so many moms who have recently had kids, and it's like, yeah, you try to put on those pants after, and you should never try on the pants.
Never try on the pants.
Not
Wait
right
wait at
away.
least wait at least 9 months. It took you 9 months to get where you were, so give yourself time because things don't go back to the way they were. And those pants might
Exactly.
never fit you the same way again,
Yeah,
and that's okay.
and I have seen so many people share that, like, just get the pants that fit you or get
Yeah.
whatever you
Yes.
need that fits you in that moment. Get
So
that
you're
because
comfortable.
that's what's gonna make you happy, and don't let
Yeah.
what changes happen affect who you are or take it to heart. And it's so funny because sometimes I wish I could hop into my friend's brain or hop into someone else's and be like, "How do you see me?" Because right now I don't see me so great.
Yes.
And that goes with everything. It could be body, it could be just how you're doing as a person, and I think sometimes we need to take a step back and really just be like, okay, this is who I am and I'm okay with that. I'm and
Yeah.
just changing our mindset. And it's hard. It's way easy for me right now to be like, yeah, it's this easy when really like it's a battle all the time. So it's just funny. Like, I could say that to you or to a friend and be like, you are amazing. And for us to say that to ourselves is sometimes really difficult.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why is because we compare ourselves to other people. And, if I compare myself to someone who has 1 kid, 2 kids, it's a different story for me. And even I have friends who have 1 or 2 kids and they're like, "I don't know how you did it with 6 because 1 is hard, 2 is hard." And honestly, everybody's story is different and everybody's reality is different and it could be tough. And it is tough regardless of how many you had. And people say, "How did you do it?" And I said, "I don't know. I just you have to. You just have to." But we compare ourselves with other people and that's another thing that really plays with your mental health because you are not, there's no two of you. You're you're a totally different person and your experiences are going to be totally different than somebody else's.
Exactly. And I think that transitions into another question I had for you because it is really hard being a mom and it's hard sometimes to just see yourself in a positive light. There are hard times and it's so joyous and it's so great,
Hmm.
but it's often either coming from our spouse or friends when they tell us how great we are. So, for
Yeah.
you as a mom, when you think about yourself in the role of a mother that you were in, what are you most proud of? Because that is something that's hard to think of yourself and be like, you know what, I'm proud of this, but we need to do that more
Yeah.
often.
Yeah, sometimes I wish I could see myself through like your dad's eyes because he always thinks I'm beautiful. And I'm like, whoa, I don't know about that. Anyways, um, about being a mom, I think I've done a pretty good job. Like, if there's anything that I'm proud of um, in my life, my accomplishments, I would say that I've done a pretty good job as a mom. When I have people come up to me and tell me that I have raised really good human beings, then I'm like, okay, I did something right. I have had multiple people in different settings that I'm in tell me how wonderful my children are. And it's one of those moments where sometimes I'm like, well, thank goodness they act like that in public because it's not what I always see at home. But I've had people say that we just have some pretty great kids. And I'm a little biased, but I have to agree that I think that our kids are pretty great. And I think that our family is pretty fun. I don't know. I love everybody.
I love everybody too. We have a pretty great family. And I think that just shows how great of parents you and dad were and still are. Like, you really prioritize the family. And I just am grateful that we had you as parents because feels weird being like, yeah, I think I turned out all right. But
Yeah.
I think that you and dad set a really good example of how to just be kind and to love. And you both showed that. And it's really great. And I was wondering, so when I think of proud moments, I think of you as a mom and I think back to, because like I want to preface this with I live in Southern California and it is warm here. And max we ever need
All
is a
year
sweat.
round.
Max we ever need is a sweatshirt. I also have
When it's
one,
25 degrees outside because it's so cold.
and I have one child. But the time it takes us to get out of the house sometimes feels like forever, and I don't even know why. But I think back to you living in Edmonton, and for those who don't know, Edmonton is cold. It's minus 40 Celsius. Like, it is cold, and it's not like
In the winter.
in the winter, it does get the summers are great in Canada, and this is just one part in Alberta, but it's cold. And at this time, you have shared with me some of those experiences, but I want you to tell me what it was like just in that trying to get us to school or doing anything. Like, how was that?
Yeah. So when you started kindergarten, I was pregnant with baby number 4, Callie. And after we had her, I had to get you to school, and I did not have a car. So I would get you in your snowsuit, get the boys in their snowsuits. I would put Callie in the carrier in front of me and then put my jacket over top of us. And then we would pull out the sled, and I'm pretty sure the boys were in the sled. You might have even hopped in the sled with the boys at times. And we walked to school. And it was probably, I don't know, 4 blocks maybe seemed like 10. Anyways, and but I didn't have a choice. It would just this is what I had to do. And that year the teachers went on a strike, and I was so grateful because Callie ended up getting pneumonia, her poor little, month old body. And then for a month, I didn't have to take you to school, and it was wonderful. But I don't know, you just this is where I live, this is what I have to do, and that's what I did.
To me, that is just super mom status. Like, I could not imagine. And I know that you say all the time, like, you just have to get through it and you just have to do it. But I think, okay, because now my mind works in like time increments. Like it takes us this much time to do this. It
Yes.
takes us this much time to do
Yes.
that. And the time it would take to get 4 kids ready in snow gear, get us to school, get home, strip off the snow gear, like that's
Mhm. Well,
hours.
and when you went to kindergarten, it was only those half days. So, it was almost like by the time I got home with the kids, it was time to go back and pick you
Yeah,
up.
that is
Uh,
that's crazy. And I just think those are moments that as moms, we can sit back at night and be like, I did that. I am proud of myself that I got
yeah.
my kid to school and I got us all warmed and ready. And we
Yeah.
did it because those are things that are way underrated, but take a ton of effort and a lot of energy and making sure everyone's also happy through that. So I think we can do a better job as moms to be proud of ourselves and to be just like take a moment to step back and be like, you know what, I'm doing this and I'm crushing it. And it may not be this huge elaborate thing, but you got us out the door, or I got this person a snack when they needed it. And we had this
Yeah.
peaceful moment because I knew exactly what my kid needed right then. And I just think we can take those and be proud of ourselves for what we do and accomplish in the
Yeah.
day.
We're just hard on ourselves. Just is the way it is, and I still get in trouble from your dad because I will be like, "Oh, I didn't get this done, and I didn't get this done, and I didn't get this done," and he says, "Yeah, but what did you get done?" And I think we don't celebrate the accomplishments, and it is a huge mindset shift instead of thinking what you didn't get done to celebrate what you did. And maybe it's only one thing on the list, but it's one thing that you don't have to do tomorrow.
Exactly. I think that's a great piece of advice is just working on shifting that mindset. And it's, again, it's way easier to say than do, but we can help each other with that and just continue to be supportive. And I think when you meet with friends or family or whoever, just helping people see the positive side of the situation that we're in and be able to be of a support, because we can do that for each other. I am grateful for every piece of advice that you have given, and you are just an amazing mom and have gone through so much. And I'm grateful that you are able to share your experiences because that's what's helped me become a mom. And I know that someone listening is going to hear this and be like, you know what? I feel at peace, or I feel supported, or I just feel like I'm not alone in this journey. And I can just feel a little bit of love in that. With my final question, it is, in this wild journey of motherhood, how have you grown as a woman?
Yeah, I think most of my adult life has been defined being a mother and raising my children. And when you're in it, you kind of don't get to take a minute to appreciate all the things that you have accomplished. And as you know, my kids are having kids. I said earlier how it's miraculous. I think about our bodies just being able to do this task, and all we got to do is, you know, take care of ourselves, and we're growing this human being that's a part of you. And I don't know, I think I appreciate more and more what the role of a mother is. And it's not necessarily just to your own children. It's to anybody's children. And I don't know, I think there's just so much joy that can come from it, even through the hard times. And it's just something that I cherish.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And just sharing every step of the way, and just we got a glimpse of what it was like for you as a mom, and I'm grateful for that, and I am grateful for your thoughts, and just how you go about motherhood has really helped me, and I know it'll help other people. So, thank you so much for being here. I'm really
Well,
excited.
thank you. Yeah, I love you.
I love you too. I want to say a special thank you to my mom for being here and being open enough to share her story and experiences. Motherhood can bring such joy and vulnerability, and I am grateful for her insights. Once again, thank you for all those that tuned in, and I am so excited to be sharing more interviews and to continue to grow together. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.